your Pavan Muktasan.
Which is release your wind asan. Never have I ever Googled my skin concern.
I have before I met you. Thinking spicy. Your best Bollywood face makeover. You made it very boring. It has to be fun.
Welcome to Skin Science. I'm Dr. Rashmi Shetty. On Skin Science, we dive deep into the world of beauty to uncover the science beneath the surface. We'll explore connections between beauty and everything associated to it with insights from experts from medical, wellness, and beauty fields. So join us as we go beyond the basics and reveal the true skin science. As we are diving deep into every part of science, medicine, wellness, when it comes to skin, here is something which is very integral to good skin, glowing skin, even lovely hair. And that is yoga, which is a complete, we may just think it is asanas and it is probably breath. That's probably as much as I know of it. There is so much more to it. So I thought it's best for you to know it from the expert. We have today with us a celebrity yoga and holistic wellness expert, founder of Anshuka Yoga, the best yoga studio I have ever known. And I am personally very fond of her because I see that sportsmanship, that discipline, that inner kindness, which maybe you end up seeing with people who have maybe done sadhana for a long time in her. So when she talks yoga, I truly believe in what she says because I can see she's practicing it. Now, Anshuka not only is a great practitioner, a great teacher, and a great advocate of yoga, she also pioneered a few things. This Fly Fit, what is it, Anshuka?
Firstly, thank you for having me, and those kind words, it's making me very, very emotional, so thank you. Fly Fit is an amalgamation of fun things: aerial yoga, aerial pilates, aerial fitness. Think a hammock, think suspended in the air, and think about being inverted with a fitness workout. That's Fly Fit.
Is it only possible for the arms of a national gold medal swimmer like you? Or can I also just suspend?
Everybody, everyone with a body can suspend and can be inverted.
And you don't have to be a Bollywood star like a Kareena Kapoor, an Alia Bhatt, a Deepika Padukone, a Sonam Kapoor, and many more to your list. And of course, the one who introduced you and me, Rakul Preet. So even a common man can suspend, right?
Everybody.
So okay, let's hear from you. What is yoga? Is it yoga? Is it yoga?
So it's yoga. Yoga means in Sanskrit, definition-wise, the union, mind, body, spirit, soul, right? But we say yoga because it's practice, like you said. Everybody thinks of yoga as yoga, just like the asana practice, or like breaking a sweat, being inverted, doing splits, having great flexibility. It's so much more, right? It's the eightfold path to finally connect with the universe.
So you kind of are saying if you really follow it, you can connect with God, universe, whatever, attain that
absolutely
bliss.
Yes, absolutely. It's like your individual identity and the cosmic identity sort of aligning, your internal and external.
You know, when it comes to skin, a lot of times I keep talking to people and saying everything stems from stress and lifestyle, right? One big part of lifestyle is mobility, exercise, and sleep.
Mm-hmm.
And then, of course, stress, which is mind.
Right.
Now, both of these cause a lot of issues for us, including the most commonly talked about PCOS, thyroid. All of this stems from here. So it was important for me to bring an expert like you on this episode for us to understand, firstly, how it is all intertwined and how it is important for you to, get, I wouldn't say hooked on, rather make it a lifestyle, make it a lifestyle, whatever you choose. And for me, I thought yoga was all encompassed. Like you said, it can calm the stress of my mind, stress of my body, stress of my system, even balance the endocrine system out, isn't it?
Absolutely.
So therefore, you're here. So please, let's start with basic, what we all know, flexibility and movement. So tell me what one should be doing just to attain a nice, flexible, moving, functioning body. What is it? What do we require?
Just move. Firstly, movement is key, whether it means just taking a flight of stairs or just walking around. If you have a 9 to 5, when you're making your phone calls, just move. Your body is your temple, and you have to exercise it. You have to move. But when it comes specifically to your yoga practice, asana practice, and we say asana, right? Surya Namaskar, your Surya sun salutations gives you everything, whether it's your mobility, your flexibility, your endurance. It's power packed. It's giving you everything, whether it means just doing 5 rounds of namaskars, 10 rounds of namaskars, you're getting everything. You're stretching every part of your body. It's also working on a lot of, you're using your body weight. So it is building that lean muscle as well. It's building endurance and you're using your breath. So you're connecting within. So it's a very holistic, Surya Namaskar is great.
So the hype about Surya Namaskar is real.
Yeah,
is real.
It's real. Absolutely, yeah.
How many should I do?
As little as even doing one namaskar is something that I practice. When you do one namaskar with awareness, with your mind and your body, everything connected, whether it's one movement with one breath style, right? When you're doing a certain movement, you inhale. When you're doing a certain movement, you exhale. If you're doing it correctly, one round is enough. Wow. I have seen people that sweat it out and they do like hundreds of namaskars. We also do 108 namaskar because it's a very auspicious number. However, doing it with that sort of intention is you'll gain all the benefits. Otherwise, I see a lot of people just going crazy with incorrect form. You're just going to lead to a lot of injury. Do it correctly. Do one, quality over quantity always.
So 108 is because it's an auspicious number.
Absolutely. Yes, the Yog Mala. Even
the beads.
Yes, exactly. The rosary, your beads, 108 is such a powerful number when you do it correctly. If you're just going to do namaskars, not paying attention to what you're doing just for that number, you're not going to gain anything. Yes, you will break a sweat, but not in the right way.
I heard you say now that it'll also build lean muscle mass.
Right.
But many a times we hear that yoga is not enough. You have to always combine it with another form of weight training or strength training to actually build muscle. Is that true?
Yes, that is true. Very controversial, but I am of that belief because I also take all the traditional science, but I'm a very real time, today present yoga practitioner, right? And the truth is, yes, you can build lean body muscle, you can build lean muscle mass, but you can't really, if you want that muscle growth, that's not going to happen with just this practice. You have to supplement it with another practice, whether it's your weight training. I think weight training along with yoga is just beautiful. It's a great combination. If you want a little more mobility, there's calisthenics. A lot of people, you pick your repertoire, but weight training and yoga is a great combination.
So would you also say it the other way? Like, for example, kids who are now heavily into weight training, muscle building, or bulking up, integrating yoga into that gives them what exactly?
So many things, guys. It's so important. Firstly, let's start with just our breath. When we are moving with our practice, especially with yoga, what your mat is giving you when you're doing a balancing asana, like a vrikshasana, which is your tree pose, you're standing on one leg, you're really, if you sort of move from where you are mentally, you're going to fall off. And that just teaches you to come back stronger and for a longer time. So I feel like there are lessons that you take away from the mat. So one being you're being present, being aware, connecting your mind, body, soul at, for that little duration that you can. And then it comes to recovery. With a yoga practice, you'll recover better. It helps you to prevent a lot of injuries. It helps you to build that flexibility, increase that range of motion, which only will, you're going to see faster results when you're doing other repertoires. So when you're weight training, you have to have that decompression. You have to have the recovery. You have to have active recovery. You have to have the stretching and the flexibility because it's only going to help you like a big bag of goodies.
So do you concentrate specifically on spine flexibility? I see a lot of people having neck aches, back aches, especially young guys having lower back aches. And I do suffer sometimes from upper back ache because of the posture of the way I sit as a doctor. Neck ache. So spine becomes such a central, integral part of a posture. Many a times I also think that that's what makes you feel youthful, isn't it? And look youthful because your spine is erect. So that kind of makes you look so youthful. So how do you go about it? Or what advice do you tell us, even while sitting in terms of posture? What can we do in between the day? Or what practices should we be doing?
So firstly, I fully agree with what you said. You are as young and supple and open-minded and flexible as you are in your spine and your mind. I feel like that is the days that you're feeling closed up. If you have like a hunch, you're feeling more closed up. You're not, I wouldn't say introverted, but I would say closed. So when I feel like when you're closed in your spine and your body, you're closed in your mind. So that and I see that as I practice, because I love having a straight spine. I think it's so important, and it's also housing your nervous system, right?
Yeah.
Which is so important. So when something is housing anything, you have to protect it. You have to take care of it, right? Just like our homes, you have to clean it. You have to make sure it's strong and sturdy. So you're safe at all times and you're only getting stronger. A few things that I would suggest that everybody does, especially if you're hunching over on a laptop or like doctor sitting on a table, constantly maybe doing procedures, writing things out, your cat and cow. It's so simple. You can do it anywhere. There's a chair version, there's a mat version, there's a fly fit hammock version. So simple. Your bhujangasana, anything that's really rotating your shoulders and strengthening those spine muscles are your back muscles are really, really important. Another thing is just movement. If you move and you walk with awareness, even maybe a few minutes in an hour or a few minutes in 2 to 3 hours, if you have a desk job, that's good enough. What else can I talk about when it comes to the spine?
Spine, I think one thing that I also want to bring to your notice is, have you seen the posture of a lot of girls when they pose like this?
Right.
Posing in such a way to enhance their body and their posture. But in that, they're actually arching their lower back so much. Yeah, what do you want to say about that?
Human anatomy, lordosis, isn't the best thing to have because it causes a lot of pain. Yes, it makes your backside look beautiful, right? And we can pop it out once in a way. But I do see that as a restriction. So when somebody comes in and I do like a body check, whenever we are doing like an anatomy check before we jump into a session, right? You're always doing an analysis because you have to treat everybody differently. Yeah. So I do see they are restricted with their movement. We cannot do hyper extensions with them. Even though they have a beautiful arch, we cannot overdo that extension also because, everything is about balance. You have to bring them back, like hypermobility, right? You must have seen a lot of people with their joints when they can do all these crazy things like bone breaking, but that's not really good for injury because it's like when you're doing a split, it just goes. Sometimes it's better to pull yourself back. So the balance of both is very important.
So it's strength before flexibility?
I think it's equal.
It's equal?
Think, because like a gymnast, and this is a good, we've just had Olympic season and we've seen how important flexibility and strength both are, right? They have one brings the other back. It's so important to have both. And flexibility without any strength is as good as, not
exactly.
have.
So I was thinking, you need to have that strength before you simply say, I'm flexible.
Absolutely.
Can you just tell me one or two easy things for people like us who are at work, whether it is students, like you said, on desk or desk jobs? What can we quickly do to just get our spine aligned?
Old school, but walk with a book on your head. Find what works for you. Pick that angle in the mirror or a point in your room, in your classroom, wherever you are, your office cabin, whatever it is, and then walk towards it. It will change your life. And again, Surya Namaskar. So I do this one practice where we shut our eyes and I do the Namaskar practice. And of course, if you have certain contraindications, you can't do that. But this has really helped my practice. And a downward dog. A downward dog is life. It's life-changing. And it's, especially in my practice as a teacher, that's my first sign when I see misalignment from the hips is in the downward dog. I don't know if other teachers see it like that, but because your misalignment, usually it all starts with your hips. Your hips are your mitochondria, your powerhouse. So for me, it's the downward dog that makes a difference. So if you have somebody to guide you, a certified teacher to guide you just initially to get that right, and you keep practicing it, it'll work wonders.
Wow. I see that you're so deep into anatomy, which is so impressive. Can you tell us, why are you special? What is it that you do in terms of, I see that you said in a consultation, I look at the anatomy of the spine. We also do an anatomic consultation, which is very impressive. you saying that hip joint is such an important thing is again very, very like a lot of people do say, oh, it's the abs, you strengthen your abs for the back. Then I keep telling my patients, your hip muscle, the gluteus, is so important for your posture.
Correct.
Yes, it's well known that it is abs and in your back muscle,
Right.
but the gluteus makes such a big difference.
Correct.
So I'm so glad you brought that up. So can you tell us what is your process? Why are you so special? Which you are. That's why I'm asking you. Why are you special?
With the feedback that I've got is how I'm going to sort of tell you this answer. I think everyone's special, firstly, but thank you. But with my background of I used to be a national gold medalist swimmer. Back then, when we used to swim professionally, posture was extremely important to better our stroke. Right. So I think at a very young age, and also having grandparents that have been doctors, or sitting even on like a table eating dinner, my family was very specific about sitting a certain way, which meant that like if my grandparents saw me just leaning back right now, I don't think they'd be very happy. But small things like that. And when you have a certain reach with your stroke, you're reaching faster, correct? So we were constantly working on certain aspects of anatomy subtly, because as children, we never really understood it. Then moving forward from that, I was always one of the tallest people in my class. I did have a brief time where I purposely, deliberately started hunching. And again, the family caught on to it, and my parents said, hey, because you have your certain growth spouts, is it called spurts? Spurts. Did I say spout?
Yeah.
So growth spurts before the men sometimes, right? So puberty hits them maybe a little later. So all the guys in my class at one point were like shorter than me, and I started doing that, which led to a lot of changes in my swimming practice, right? Because that was automatically, that's what was translating into the swimming pool. And as an athlete and a sportsman, you want to get better. So I was quickly came back to check. After that is when I had a motorbike accident. When I used to be a pilot, I had a motorbike accident which left me immobile for 8 months, which I will talk to you about. I know you know the story, but I will share more. And that's when I realized the importance of every little, cell in my body. I already knew, but it was very broad, So when you can't move for 8 months and you need crutches to help you move from one place to another, and understanding how recovery is different for every single person, that's when I feel like I knew that I wanted to study the human body more closely. I also realized that when I became a teacher, no two bodies are the same. And that's why I don't follow a specific school of yoga styles or practices, right? Because I do believe everybody is different. And hence anatomy is so important, because in a class, we do run a boutique style studio, but when we have group classes, if somebody is doing it a certain way and wants to achieve a certain other thing, it can't happen. Sometimes your anatomy is not going to let you, no matter how much you work for it, you're not going to get that beautiful split. Or somebody is just gifted and, they don't need a warm up. They can just do whatever they want. So I realized that if I am teaching somebody, or if I have to help another human progress, I need to understand anatomy. In fact, recently I just shared something on anatomy on my social media, because I realized that teachers feel like it's one fits all,
Never.
which never works, right? You know that better than
Exactly.
anybody as well. So it was very close to me. And again, being aware, whenever I see people around me, I think sometimes I'm giving them, I'm that person who'll ask them to straighten out their spines or do something a certain way, and maybe give them like suggestions that they don't want, because I know what it can lead to, and I truly believe that all the years that I put in with especially in sport, helped me recover after my accident.
You know how we take our bodies for granted.
Absolutely.
I had some more questions about the body. I wanted to talk about neck hump, but I want to straight jump into what you said about how individualism is so important in whether you teach or you treat. So it's like a lot of people come to me and say, but I want lips like her, or I want face like her. And I keep saying some things achievable, some things firstly not achievable. Two, it's like skin type of someone else, and you come and say, but her skin is clear, why can't mine be? So there are a whole lot of hereditary things and your own ethnicity that brings in that you can't do it, not just the anatomy and the structure.
Correct.
And I also think sometimes, like you rightly said, somebody can get a split, but another person may not be able to get with the same effort. Anyone who wants a particular lip from somebody else's face, it may not fit into your face, right?
Absolutely.
So I want to ask you, when somebody comes and says, I want to have my body like Deepika Padukone, what do you tell them? Do you say, okay, come, let's start training? Or you say, not possible? How do you counsel them? How do you go about with them?
I get that all the time.
Yeah.
And I get that with so many different actors that I teach. I mean, this might sound funny, but I like it. I like that they are motivated by at least somebody else that they are entering the studio, number one. So at least their journey has started. What I do tell them though is, let's see how your body is moving, because your anatomy, you don't look the same as Deepika, your body structure, whatever it may be, but start with enjoying your journey and let's find your best version of yourself.
Yeah.
I also do believe, when I say that very practically, people are also disheartened. So I do tell them that, okay, that's what we are going to really aim for. And eventually, I think this practice draws you inward so much that a few classes in, you're not really thinking about that anymore.
One thing that I left from the previous thing, I
Right.
wanted to ask you about the neck bump. We were talking about spine. So I
Right.
wanted to finish that little bit to say about the neck bump. You see a lot of children right now,
Mhm.
whether it's in the waiting room that I
Right.
see or wherever you see, they're just like this. So there's a lot of cases of neck bump, which is
Correct.
kind of discussed. What do you tell them when you hold the phone, hold it like this? I mean, they are not going to give up the phone.
Right. Yes, I do tell them that. I also tell them to be extremely aware. And right now we have so many props, even when it comes to the laptop, to sort of prop it up and sit in a certain way, because I do believe that you have to find that balance. If you're doing it, do it a certain way. I'm on the phone a lot as well. Especially when I wake up, I try to stay away from it for at least 10 minutes. But then after that, sometimes you don't have time and your practical life sort of kicks in. And that's really when you're tested. And that's when you make these little tweaks and, sit a certain way, look at the phone a certain way. I really like those little mini tripods that you get everywhere. And I feel like that's a great investment, because if you know that you're going to be in your cabin or on your desk, you should get a tripod that is your certain eye level. So every time you put it there, you know that that's your eye level. That's where your laptop's going to be. That's where your phone's going to be. And that's the
only way. So we were talking about flexibility. I just want to say how much, as a dermatologist, is important for me that they have a good lymphatic system which is functional. A lot of facial swelling, under eye bags, retention of fluid in the lower half of the leg. All of this happens because of just lymphatic stasis. And that simply happens because one doesn't move. And all the muscles in the periphery acts like a heart. It just pumps all your extravasated fluid, or the fluid that's escaped the vessels, back into the system. So to me, I want to ask you, is there anything specific that you can target towards lymphatic fluid coming back, facial puffiness reducing, leg swelling reducing?
Water retention of every kind, or bloating, and all of these things is very common. Inversions is really the key. You don't have to be upside down completely. You don't have to be doing a Shirshasana. You don't have to be doing anything, a handstand. You don't have to do anything complicated. You can just put your legs up on the wall. It's called Viprit Karni, Viparita Karni, however people pronounce it. It's just legs up on the wall. It's so simple. It's when you wake up, your body is literally like that. So you put your legs up. This is where your buttocks are, and this is where your head is.
You mean you sleep like that?
No. When you wake up, that's the first thing you do in the morning, right? You just put your legs up on the wall. This is a game changer. Not only you can do it for 5 to 10 minutes daily as soon as you wake up. And I do tell a lot of people, highly not recommended, but if you really have to work and you need your phone and you don't have time, do that. And at least you're in one eye level. Make sure that it doesn't bounce on your head, and do it for about 5 to 10 minutes. You will see the change in your body. It is such a great flush. And twisting, your twists really help you sort of think about, like,
twist.
Think about a towel and this towel is wet with water, and you're wringing the towel. You're like sort of like releasing all what's not needed. You'll automatically see the difference. Of course, as you start moving, as the day progresses, you will see the difference in the swelling, difference in the retention. I work with a lot of pregnant women as well, right? So with pregnancy, I see this a lot, especially the big swelling of legs. But when people practice this every day, I have seen so many of them do this regularly, morning and night. It also helps with better sleep. So this, I feel like this is one thing that you should do. It's a game changer.
So is the night better than the morning? Because
Not-
that's when you're vertical, isn't
not
it?
necessarily.
Really?
Yeah. It's like how we have Surya Namaskar and Chandra Namaskar. It depends on,
What's Chandra Namaskar?
it's your winding down. In the evening, you don't want to do your super fiery practices. Like if I'm doing a class from any time after sunset, I will not do a extreme fiery class, because I want them to sleep better. I want them to do more restorative, more winding, like a winding down routine. I don't want them to be really high up on energy as well. So we sort of tweak that practice according to the time of the day. Of course, there is an auspicious and the best time to do your yoga practices early in the morning. And when no one's waking up at that time, you have to make you have to tweak it.
You're the modern day teacher.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And I believe that. I feel like you have to do the best with whatever you're given.
Inversions. Why? I mean, I remember going on asking you, let's do inversion lesson, and you and I have never found a common
I'm gonna
time.
make you do it.
Yes, we shall do it. I'm waiting for that.
I'm going to post a picture, guys, of this inversion. We have it recorded.
Yeah, we have to do this. So why do you love inversion so much, and what is the benefit of inversion? And tell me more.
Your hormones, it's a circus, right? Your endocrine system, to balance it is key for everything. Number one, something as small as letting your inner child go, right? With Fly Fit, which is the hammock repertoire that I created, a lot of people that cannot invert do it on the hammock. Now, people just think about people upside down. When they come out of an inversion, nobody is sad. There are so many endorphins, so much adrenaline, serotonin, all that good, happy stuff going on, where it automatically puts you in a better mood, which is so important because your stress is intangible, right? So it's some sort of a meter to see how someone is feeling, number one. So it makes me feel really good. It's all that blood circulation. I feel like I've had this facelift for that time, and it gives me a lot of clarity. I truly believe it's like that stagnation of blood, and it really helps to pump that blood circulation. And I feel it. I feel like a rush. I feel like I've just jumped out of a plane. Automatically, when you're doing inversions, you are also not only stimulating your thyroid, your endocrine, all that good stuff, but you're also building strength. Right? Now, when somebody cannot do it on the ground, they do it on the hammock. So it's also an assist. And lastly, I feel like it's also about letting go, especially your inner child. As children, everybody talks about how children are so fearless. Children are like down to jump on anything, like swings, fall off, be injured, jump up again, do all of those things. But as an adult, even though, especially with my hammock, even if I'm showing them that this is a safety, even if something happens, you are safe, they're very hesitant, right? Because as adults, we are caught up, right, with everything brick and mortar around us. So how do we really tap into that inner child? I feel like it helps you to let go. So there are various things, of course, physical, on every level that inversions give me that no other practice has given me. Maybe I felt, and I feel I feel like it's a different perspective after all. You are looking at things upside down. If you're in a bad mood, invert. If you have to make a decision, invert and then make the decision. Yeah, always.
So now we've heard from the expert's mouth that the inversion is such a wonderful thing to many things. I'm going to just stress on what it does to the skin. One, it does help a lot of circulation. So there's a new gush of blood all over your face, your brain to kind of give all the endorphins as well. And who's the master gland? The pituitary, who's right here. And then you have thyroid, again, a very important gland for skin and your general well-being. All of this gets a fresh lease of blood. So very, very important. And when you invert and then come back, again, you feel that little drain, which makes you have such a high. So that's something wonderful. What I also want to ask Anshuka is, who can't invert? Who shouldn't invert?
Lot
No,
of
sorry, not can't. Who should not invert?
So there are a lot of contraindications. There's glaucoma, there's hypertension,
Yeah.
persistent high BP, of course, and a lot of different things, really. But if it's a physical strength limitation, that's when you have your hammock. So that's the beauty of the hammock. It's like your friend, it's your teacher.
As a pregnant?
No, you can invert. Yes, you
Oh.
can invert when you're pregnant. Your first trimester is when we don't invert,
Mm.
but your second and third trimester you can. In fact, we've had, we know somebody in common, Purnia,
Yeah.
and there's a beautiful video that I put up of her
Yeah.
where she was inverting till the very end, and it's really good for you. But of course, you have to invert in a certain way. Please invert with a certified teacher who understands not only limitations in general, but your limitations, and building strength from the ground up, right? Because a lot of people want to hold that Shirshasana, that headstand for like 5 to 7 to whatever minutes. But really, if you're really sinking into your shoulders and not doing it correctly, you're doing more harm than more good.
I do get very scared of kinking my neck when you do a Shirsasana.
We are making you invert.
Yes, okay. Yeah, so that's beautiful. So what makes you so special, Anshuka? I loved it that you said, you look into the anatomy, and I loved it when you said, I look at how the hip is aligned. It's such a wonderful thing. And I keep telling my patients that it's not just about your abs and then your muscle on the back for your posture. The biggest influence is your hip,
Correct.
Is your gluteus muscle. Tell me, what else do you check?
So the hips is one. Number two, it's your breath, really. I mean, I look at how shallow the person is breathing, or not shallow, how their breath pattern, their rhythm of their breath is moving. So I don't tell them about the breath first. I make them start moving and try to understand with how they are working with their breath, which is so important, because I see mostly people are breathing very shallow, and most of the time it's their sympathetic nervous system which is tapped into, which is like your fight or flight, which is your tension, your stress system, right? And the idea is to turn that shortly into the parasympathetic nervous system, right?
So I'm just interrupting here or intervening here to say, isn't this so amazing? Dr. Shashank Joshi, the endocrine specialist, we just spoke to him, and he was talking exactly the same thing about, how we operate so much from the sympathetic system. And the idea is to move to a parasympathetic system, which is the more calming, deliberate, taking action with a lot of thought behind it, rather than, oh my God, flight or fight situation, which is not just good for your mind and your well-being and your longevity. It is also very good for your glowing skin.
Exactly. All the anti-aging, all the good stuff going on, rest, recovery, relaxation, all the good stuff. So the breath is the second. Then, of course, hips, spine, and then when they're moving, little tweaks. Of course, at some point when I feel like there has to be an expert, then I will recommend an expert that they need to go to. And I work with several mobility specialists, certain osteopaths, chiropractors, or everything. So that's certain those are certain things that I really work with.
Wow, that's so holistic, so scientific, and like you rightly said, a modern way of coming together of specialities to ultimately give the well-being that a person requires, not just a flexibility or not just a strength, which is so wonderful. My pet project in life is to give everybody a great shoulder. And like I said, there are 2-3 things for me. The posture of youthfulness, I call it. One is the shoulder. So therefore, the deltoid muscle. If you see a lot of people, as they keep growing older, this looks like somebody shaved them. And that whole sag comes here, which doesn't look good. So to me, one is deltoid. How do I keep that going robust? Two, my gluteus. That's another very important thing for the posture itself. And then the muscles of your legs.
And I'll also tell you one thing. I see a lot of, weak glutes, of course, right? Because people are, you are using it to move all the time, but you're not really firing your glutes. And I say that so often, so much, and it gets even worse when you get pregnant, right? If you don't have the awareness of even firing up your glute, then it's very tough because you're carrying a lot more weight than you have, right?
Consciously fire a glute when you walk.
You consciously fire a glute all the time when you're moving and working out, and then when you start walking, it automatically translates to that, because you're walking in a neutral spine, right? That is the goal, to walk with a neutral spine. You're not like, how do I say, posteriorly, you're not
Tilted
tilted
backwards.
backward, or like,
Yeah.
I want to use like basic terms, like, you
Lift
have
your
to
butt
find that
back.
sort
You
of
don't.
mid ground, right? And another thing that I tell people, just squeeze your glutes, start with that, start with moving, right? And I give them certain drills to move, to really see if they're firing up their glutes or not. Something as small as even like your just to bring awareness, I'm just going to talk about the Kegel muscle, right? So a lot of students don't know what their Kegel muscle is, and they clench their buttocks and they feel like that's your Kegel muscle, which is not. So even that's very interesting to bring the awareness. So I feel like once anybody is aware, for example, even if you're aware of your shoulders and your posture, at some point if you start slouching and you remember, you're going to automatically straighten up, right? So I think I'm that tool to really bring that awareness into the student, and that's where my responsibility ends.
So, Anshuka, when people talk about posture, it's very seldom confused with just bodily posture. For me, the posture that happens above, let's say, your collarbone is the posture for me. So, the way you hold your neck, whether it is this, or the way you hold the face to the neck, so the face neck angle, a lot of them end up, knowing how to manipulate using that double chin by holding your neck well, right? And then you also hold the face in such a way that you look very regal. Have you seen that scene in Princess Diaries, how the grandma teaches her what to do? So I want to ask you, how do you teach people to hold their head high and straight and right?
So again, strengthening the correct muscles always, and automatically they'll see that length, and I feel like any little bit of, like, how do I put it, any pain or any discomfort automatically gets corrected, because I can only teach for that amount of time. It's the rest of the day what really translates, because it has to be comfortable. It's also the way you sleep, correct? All of those things are very, very important. So when whatever I teach on the mat is a neutral neck. It's always a neutral neck. Sometimes we're also giving them a lot of props, like maybe if somebody has just like a floppy neck, for example, we'll always roll a little bit of a napkin till everything is strengthened. So think of like your head being supported, like think of a mannequin. All of this is your supporting muscle, like starting from here, going all the way down to your mid back. But truly it's the entire body. But just for context, so once that foundation and that structure is strong, automatically you get that space to hold high.
So are you a big advocate of supine position when you sleep? For the ones who don't know what supine is, sleeping on your spine, straight back.
Yes, I am. It is very tough to do, though, all the time, like just lying flat on your back, because most of us are very comfortable side sleepers, womb sleepers, right? Always knees into our chest, giving ourselves that warm hug. But yes, I am. It is slightly tough to achieve all the time, because you start consciously, sometimes you're rolling, but I do believe that there are differences, even they might not be cumulative, but structurally I feel like that when I'm sleeping on my back for many days. Yes.
But I thought yoga, or I don't know whether it's Ayurveda, believes in sleeping on the right side or the left side, one of the sides.
So different schools believe in right and left, really. That's what I've learned. But when you do sleep, it helps for digestion. It is your womb, your cocoon pose, but not for a long time. Again, that's where really the different things that I've learned come into play, And I've also been, I think maybe we've had a conversation before where the structure of your right and left always has to be aligned on your back. So sleeping on your back really, really helps. It's also extremely anti-aging.
Yes, it is. So sleep position is a huge thing for how your body will kind of age, like you rightly said, in terms of position. But when you sleep supine, your neck is stretched, your chest is relaxed. So those lines that you get on the décolletage is not going to happen so much. So you're not curling your body like this. And the neck, if you see the old geishas, they used to sleep with something on the neck like this, so it just extended the neck. So the neck lines will also be much lesser if you sleep on that. And when you sleep on the side, you always crush your face. So it's literally crushed like that. So when you do that, folds on the face also exaggerate. And when you sleep on one side, you could even get up with a swollen eye just on one side, because the water kind of tends to accumulate on one side of the face. So these are all the benefits you end up getting aesthetically if you actually sleep on your spine.
With digestion, it's better to sleep on a certain side, and also when you get up, right? So even though if you're sleeping supine, when you have to maybe get
Wake
out
up.
of the wake up, you don't alarm immediately and jump off. You're always turning to one side, taking a few seconds, and then sort of getting up. So I think that sort of transition is also important.
Like how you get up from a shavasana after a
Correct.
practice.
Absolutely. Yeah. You just have to be very extremely calm, very present, and then get up. Yeah.
Now, another big thing after we have spoken about alignment, spine, flexibility, mobility is gut. Right? The gut skin axis is a huge thing. And a good gut, happy gut is a happy skin and a good skin.
Absolutely.
What do you do in yoga or in asanas for a good gut or to help digestion?
So Vajrasan, that is fantastic. After every meal, really, really simple. A few minutes in Vajrasan, you will see how it's almost like it's sending that fire for digestion to happen faster. And I do have a lot of students that have IBS, so have they just don't feel like their food is being digested enough. But when they started their Vajrasan practice, they do feel lighter, they feel better. Any twists, Ardha Matsyendra, lots of twists are really good. Again, that wringing the towel, think of your toxins releasing. And for your Pavan Muktasan,
which is release your wind asan.
Release your wind asan, but and Malasan, which is the deep squat Indian squat pose, right?
Which is the Indian loop pose.
Indian loop pose, which is so good for you, because over all the years that I've taught, I have seen a lot of people that cannot go into the washroom, that their bowel movement is constrained. They need like a cigarette, or they need certain stimulants to sort of take them to the washroom. But I have seen them changing that practice with just sitting in Malasana, which is that deep squat pose, sipping on some hot water, and their bowel movement has changed. So all of these, I really feel help in overall digestion. And automatically, you're just clearing up everything. And I know you'll agree with this. And it automatically shows on your skin.
Yeah.
Of course it does. And also that inner glow, when we talk about that, oh, she's glowing or he's glowing and they're radiating. It is... it's just not about even just like a clean system. It's also about your clean thoughts, right? It's also about the clean environment. It's if you do every treatment, that is available, or you eat clean, but you don't have those clean thoughts, you're not going to look a certain way, because your body, it's almost like it's reacting to every thought, every cell, everything is aligned in balance all the time. So I see that a lot. And I also feel like when we say, oh, I'm not feeling good, or I don't know, it could just be very uneasy. I see that translating into the nervous system as also, I wouldn't say anxiety because that's incorrect, but being very anxious, or being, different sort of extreme emotions, which is not supposed to happen.
So true. Gut does so many things to us, right? Everything from stimulating the nervous. There's a gut-brain axis. There's a gut-skin axis. Now, just making sure that you do the right asanas and the postures that she's taught you might be a lot more beneficial than ending up taking gut stimulants. She did speak about smoking. We'll get to that later. But any form of stimulants of the gut has its own side effects to them. They're either pushing off too much of your good gut bacteria, or they're giving you a bloated feeling after some time. So all of this can happen. One most important thing that I've seen a lot of people do is the minute the gut is not all right, you end up taking probiotics, prebiotics, those so-called good bacteria. Why do doctors give you those only when you're on an antibiotic, or you've just had an episode of maybe a bad stomach? Because there's an imbalance in that bacteria. What are you trying to do? That time we're just trying to get the balance back. But when you take these gut microbiomes or good bacteria for the gut, you're only taking, let's say, 5 of them, 10 of them that particular pharma company has chosen to put inside in a large quantity, 5 million, 10 million. You're again causing an imbalance, isn't it? There are 1 million bacteria in the gut. You can't replace all the 1 million. So when you are ending up doing all this, you're doing a disservice to your body. So the easiest thing would be what Anshuka just now explained as to a few asanas. If physically you can literally push them and squeeze it out, isn't that a great thing? So I want to ask the next thing to you is, like you said, how people radiate when they're happy from inside. There's a balance in the body. You see people who are calm and peaceful, like they say there's a halo. Maybe that's just a word used to say they're so radiant. So, what about the Om chanting?
So for me, chanting is very, it's just about me connecting within, you know. And I mean, Om chanting, AUM, Om chanting, right? It's not OM. And it also has a certain frequency. It's connecting you, I mean, internal to the universe. It's it's alignment between your waking state, your uh, awake, and your sleep and your dream. It's so many different things, but really I believe that you have to be present and be conscious, about
Do that.
about every moment, and that's what we are striving to be. So when I chant, that's what it gets me. It allows me to tap into my parasympathetic nervous system, and I feel that I almost feel a release, like I am connected to the divine. I do
Yeah.
believe that, and I feel it. So for me, chanting goes just beyond just those
Words. So this is something which it's more of a personal question that I want. I'm sure it'll benefit the audience. I've heard there are different ways of chanting Om. There's one you take a deep breath and keep saying Om till that whole thing is released, or you do something called as a Lahari Om, where you do Om 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 Om. And then my mum used to say it is like you said, it's Ah U So you start off with Ah, then U comes somewhere there, and comes somewhere deep down. So can you just elaborate a little bit of the right way?
So again, there are various right ways. It would be, it's not controversial, but there are different schools, different individuals that believe. I truly believe that where you find the best alignment of the nothingness and the gap in between two ohms is what you should strive for when you're chanting. Like the stillness, that's what it means to me when I chant. So there are, of course, there's an eightfold path, and it's extremely tough in this material brick and mortar world that we sort of live in. But to find those moments is energetic, is everything for me. And I'll give you an example. It's it's when I am even walking my dog in the morning, and just sitting maybe by the seaside, and one hand could be on my dog, and I'm just feeling the presence of nature, feeling the presence of greatness for me. And if I'm chanting within, there's also internal chanting. For me, that might not be the right way by the book, but for me, that's me connecting with the cosmic, the greatness, the divine, and for me, that feels enough.
This question was to come in the end, but I'm going to bring that here. What's a yogi? Are you a yogi?
Yes, I am a work in progress yogi all the time. I feel that if you are working with the yogic principles, by definition, somebody who practices yoga, somebody who abides by all the yoga principles, the yoga principles, is a yogi. But I feel, again, those moments that I find, I am a yogi in those moments. Am I a yogi all the time? I don't know. But have I found those moments? Yes, I have I witnessed the greatness? Yes, I have. And for me, my breath is everything. So even just being connected, I feel like throughout this time when we are talking as well, we always forget about that one thing that's constant. Nothing else in this material world is constant apart from your breath for yourself, right? Nothing. It could not. So there's no individual, no material, nothing. And for me, just being present is those special moments of being a yogi.
Are you conscious of every moment? Is that what you're saying?
I try to be. Am I conscious of every moment? No,
Right.
I'm not.
Hmm.
Would I like to be? Yes.
Hmm.
But I feel then that's the balance. That's the balance that I want to create. I do not want to be on definitely the negative side of not just being present and just having everything pass by me. I want to enjoy. I am present here right now, extremely.
Wow. Do you link diet to achievement of or achieving yogi status? Is diet, they say sattvic diet,
Right.
is that important?
It is, and it's a yes and no. I will get into trouble for saying this, but I have been sattvic for a long time. It did not work for me hormonally, and yes, I do believe that everything that you consume has energy. But I'm also of that belief that if I am consuming something else that has energy, but I have enough practice to not let it affect me, for me, that's good enough. Because for me, also having energy with my thoughts matter, which you might not know, which nobody might know, what I'm thinking, how I am leading every moment of my life, from what intention. Because my intention on the outside could be very kind, but if it's not coming from a pure state of being kind and it is forced, for me, that's as bad as having food which does not align with the yogic system of eating, say, your bad energy food, let me put it like that. So I feel like you have to find your balance and you have to be very true to yourself, because each one of us has different I would not even say moral compasses. I would say each one of us have different principles,
Yeah.
and we need to understand how that aligns with us, as well as our environment, as well as the greatness.
Yeah. To me, it's like on skin. I keep saying just because vitamin C is said to be good, everybody doesn't slap it on your skin. Maybe your skin doesn't feel happy with it. And your skin may not get the benefit that then it's supposed to give you. So it's important for us in a very material way to say that whatever you do, whether you apply, you may strike a pose, it should give you joy.
Absolutely.
Otherwise, you don't absorb anything from it, right?
Absolutely. But that I have to ask you, because now we know you are 50-ish, if I might kindly say.
Yeah.
And you are stunning. You don't,
Thank
I've known you for a long time, and
Yeah.
you just look the same. So what are your secrets? Or what are your practices?
Thank you. So for me, like you rightly said, I think over the years, we've all been through our life journeys. One thing I have learned is to say that I keep my ball in my court, which only means I think I'm responsible for my happiness, my sadness, and I can only do this much. Whatever is there in my court, I will do it to my best. That has given me a lot of mental peace. Two, I have realized not every issue needs to be solved. And even if needs to be solved, it has to be solved within me, in my head. I don't have to solve it with another person. So a lot of times I'm quiet, I have solved, I have drawn my conclusion, and I've kept it in and put it aside. So these two mentally has helped me a lot. I'm a very disciplined person right from when I was young because of the family. I'm a South Indian family with very disciplined parents. Both my parents wake up at 3:30 a.m. It's ridiculous. But so I wake up at 5:30 at least. So we've all been wake up on time, go to bed on time, eat on time. So all of this ran in the family where I didn't have to put an effort to become disciplined. It was there. It was in the culture of the house. So that to me helped in the way my weight is. And a lot of your look actually comes from the weight, I feel. And your posture. I'm a classical dancer. So my posture was always a good posture.
I didn't know that. And that
really?
makes complete sense.
Yeah.
Now.
So I've been a classical dancer and I've danced Bharatanatyam for 16 years of my life till I got into med school. So that gave me the posture. I'm a zero sports person. So it is the dance was my physical thing, and that gave me the posture. So I think and I'm very agile. Like you'll always see me running. So today, while I was talking to you, where you said, you just have 5 minutes walk. Even when you're talking on the phone, you walk. We were speaking to Dr. Shashank just before you. And he was also saying how just movement in your daily will keep you going. So I guess without knowing, these were my practices anyway. And portion control. Today it's talked as a science, but I cannot eat more than a certain amount. So that kind of, so all of these little things today where it has gone back and proven in science just helped me be who I am. And of course, a little bit of intervention to my skin, my own little science every now and then. So, yeah.
Do you have a spiritual practice?
My spiritual practice is, I deeply believe in God. I deeply believe in the Almighty there. I don't know he, she, whoever it is, but I know there's a supreme power and I feel very connected. I keep telling my daughter, I'm God's favorite child.
I say that too.
Oh, really?
Two God's favorite children.
Yeah. So, and I truly believe in it. So I believe no harm will come to me. So to me, that's my spiritual practice. And I feel that if somebody coming into my aura or to my inner circle who means harm, God will push them away. It's not my job. So that's spirituality for me. I, of course, light lamp in the morning. Some days I'm running, then I say sorry God, and I run. But I don't really believe in so much in rituals. But yes, I'm very spiritualistic. I love going to temples. Those concentrated centers give me a lot of peace. And I feel as a medical doctor, my connection is with my hand giving something to you, right? And I don't think it's me. All of us study the science, but what does the healing, I feel, is the God. So to me, if I'm not a good person, if I'm not a right person, and every time go to temples to recharge my hand, if I may please. So for me, that's what flows. Yeah, so it's that. What's your spiritual practice? What keeps you deeply rooted? And I've always seen you, like I said in your introduction, I genuinely meant it. I've seen you very calm, very genuine, very loving. And I don't say it as sometimes we're all like hyper and very nice to people, but I see you're really nice. Where does that come from?
I don't know, to be honest, but I do believe that my family has a big role to play in who I am today. I think growing up as a child, there was no question that was not allowed. There was always an honest answer. And I think that was very important as a family. Yes, it's a traditional family, but we are not extremely ritualistic as well. But the connection beyond has been translated by my father to me. The questions that maybe you want to avoid, which is, you know, who is God, for example, or how did that happen, or when you're talking about the Big Bang versus, you know, I mean, what we talk about, right? And talking about Lord Vishnu and lots of other things, there were answers. I was never treated as a child, you know, in that sense. There was no the stork flying and throwing a baby into your house. All of that never happened. And I think that gave me that freedom to really receive automatically. And I feel like as children, it does come from your parents, that sort of greatness and divinity that you don't feel otherwise. And then it was just my own practices of small things. Being a sportsman, you have to be disciplined, and you have to be disciplined for a long time to just improve. Maybe like a microsecond in a race, you have to be disciplined for a whole year and come back to that national competition, or to, you know. So there was no such thing as that instant gratification. I think that really taught me patience, you know. So I for us, it was not about, I mean, I'm very lucky to be born with a golden spoon in my mouth. However, there was no sort of, if I had to improve, it was me against me in the water. It was not a team sport. Swimming is a individual sport. It teaches you so much about you. And I realized, I realized very, very quickly the things that brought joy to me, which I obviously didn't realize back then. And it came, like you said, like very naturally. All the little things that we were doing, whether it's how we were treating our environment, whether it was how we were treating our garden around the house, how clean the room was, how we are with the help in the house, right? Also, we are a big animal loving family. I've had dogs all my life. Even those little gestures start becoming extremely normal would be the right thing. But and spiritually, I think I felt it most. I'll just dive into it about the accident that we spoke about earlier. So I was going to be a commercial pilot. That was going to be my life, right? And just before I started that whole sort of career with studying, becoming a commercial pilot, passing all those exams, getting into an airline, even very, very tough at that point. But my motorbike accident happened. My life changed in 1 second. I could not feel my legs for a few days, and I did not know whether I was going to move or walk again the way I was. And it was very tough for me. And the only thing that kept me going at that point, I think, was my parents, my family. Uh, I was blessed with a lot of friends that showed up. I feel like that was so important to give me that foundation. And at one point, it was just me, and I was just connecting with magic, whether it's the supreme. I don't know what it was, but I became so aware of my breath, and I felt that I could see things as as it was happening, but not as Anshuka, you know. And when that happened to me, I feel like I was, something changed in me. Something I was definitely not on the same frequency before that. And when that transition happens, I think you just know. And it was a lot of contentment. I think I wake up every day. When I wake up, when I open my eyes and like I'm breathing, I'm moving, I'm really grateful. I feel like everything else, my family is great, is just, they're just extra frills. I feel like if you're moving, so move, guys, move, you're moving. Yes, and that's because yoga was a big part of my healing. After going to numerous doctors, going through physiotherapy for 3 to 4 months, I started practicing actually with Iyengar yoga. That's why I'm a big fan of props, because I know that when the doctors told me that you might not be able to walk, or then later they said that you might still not be able to do certain things, I knew that I could and I wanted to. There's something was screaming inside me, and I found the right tools, and I walked into an Iyengar yoga class, and that changed my life. I practiced Iyengar yoga for 7 to 8 months before I got formal education in yoga, and that's when I realized I my education, I enjoyed the Yoga Sutras. I enjoyed the philosophy. I enjoyed so much more than just the asana practice. And that's when I realized that this is who I am, and I never looked back. And the way it's healed me, like I want people to feel the magic of just your breath. It could be as simple as, if you don't want to do an asana practice, that's fine. Just sit with yourself, be aware of your breath. It can change your life.
Apart from all the consultation that you do, I think this is what makes you special. Oh, you've motivated me. I'm going to now start breathing. I'm going to get up in the morning and just sit for a bit with myself. I think that's something that I'm really going to do. We are at such fast-paced lives.
Everything.
We just tuck, 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 tuck. From
Yeah.
the morning,
Oh,
you are
yes.
on a
Oh,
schedule.
yes.
You're on a
Oh, yes.
tight thing. I just want to make that a practice. Now, one small mundane thing that I missed out was smoking. I know you do have some asanas for smoking. I keep telling my patients, I don't care if you have a glass of wine, a little bit of whiskey, but do not smoke even one cigarette. And what does cigarette actually do? The smoke that you take in, the nicotine that you take in actually constricts the blood vessel. So you end up getting that black gray hue of your skin, which is really bad. So makes the complexion go down, the circulation to the face go down, increases your aging, accelerates your aging with something called as AGA. It also increases your oxidative stress and, of course, causes inflammation. So let's learn how to stop smoking without taking those nicotinic gummies and patches. Anshika to the rescue.
Breath work, your pranayam, your control of your breath is everything. Because once you start breathing correctly, it's like a little circle. Your hormones are better. You're making better decisions internally. You're tapping into your parasympathetic nervous system. And I feel like when you're operating from your parasympathetic, you're automatically making better decisions, not only for yourself internally, but externally. And then those cravings are managed, because that's also an extreme in your nervous system, right? When people are, I think they call it weaning off cigarettes, when people are trying to quit, etc. It's like an addiction. It's like even having sugar, white sugar. I say the same thing about white sugar. I'm like, hey, don't smoke and stay away from white sugar, because they make you feel the same way. You're almost, it's an addict personality. Not only personality, it's happening to you internally. You cannot run away from it, right? So anulom vilom, the alternate nostril breathing, very, very, very good for you. And I believe in kumbhaka breathing. It's breath retention. So it's, again, I was telling you about that space in between. So it's your inhalation and hold your breath for retention, and then exhale, and then keep working on that retention. It's a space between your inhalation and your exhalation that's really going to change your life. But again, what it helps in, it manages your cravings, manages your stress. And when you, again, like, the parasympathetic nervous system is so underrated. I feel like people should really focus on that, because when you're operating for that, you're making the entire, you're vibrating on a different frequency. Number one, you're making better decisions, and it's just very harmonious.
Wow, that's so fantastic. So how harmonious are you with your body and your skin? What do you do?
You
Your
know,
skin is
I mean,
very-
this question should be directed to you. What do I do for my skin? I moisturize.
Good girl.
I have your supplements.
Good girl.
I just recently started that. I know, but have, I feel I can have dehydrated skin a lot. And I noticed that since I was very young, all the time. It could be, and it's not about how much water you drink only. Right? It's about different things and how it's getting absorbed in your body. And I feel like that's when you need supplementation. And thanks to you, I have that now. And that's very important. I'm very, very happy with my skin. Overall, I'm just happy.
Yeah.
That's what, like, I'm very content with the way my skin is. I feel good. I feel supple.
Yes.
I know there are times that if I'm not having water, you do feel parched, or suddenly on a winter day, or like you have like white, or super dry and flaky skin. But I make sure that I'm extremely disciplined with whatever little bit that I do. I don't do too much. And whatever you've given me, I'm very, very disciplined about that. And one more thing on my skin, I think it's all the inversions, because I feel the difference, that I feel that flush, I feel the blood circulation. And I don't think it's just about the inversion. I think it's when you're moving enough, it's that blood circulation that's working all your organs correctly, which is flushing out all your toxins. And I think that's very important.
It's an amalgamation of your detox, your good bowel moments, it is your flexibility, therefore it is your drainage of your extravasated fluid through your lymph. All of this put together is what gives you that glow.
Correct.
And the second thing that you rightly said was, whatever I've given or whatever you're doing it every day regularly. So my favorite word always has been relentlessness. So it's discipline, not for today, but you follow that for a literally lifetime's worth, like a sportsman, like she said. For that one bit of improvement, you literally work so hard.
And if you're to look like you when you're 50, so that's a good example.
Yeah, so you just keep doing that. I think it was such a wonderful session, and we are now going to have some fun.
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay, for some fun and for some scoop, I shall ask her some interesting question. Never have I ever Googled my skin concern.
I have before I met you. Then I learned.
Okay.
Okay, never have I ever refused to treat a patient.
Yeah. Sometimes either I start seeing if they are not very nice, kind to my team, then I don't want to treat them only. That's my one biggest rule.
Okay,
they'll all be nice to me.
Mm-hmm.
You're not nice to my team, I'm not going to treat you.
Fair.
Never have I ever fallen asleep during a meditation session.
Oh, I have a lot in the beginning. Yes.
Yeah.
Many times. And so have
it's okay, right?
Yeah, no,
okay,
it's not okay. But yeah, I have. I hope I haven't snored, but I have. I really want to ask you this. Never have I ever slept without taking off my makeup.
Never.
Really?
Like never. Even if I sometimes come nice and high, I still will remove it. I might have slept without a cream on, but I have never slept without with a makeup on. Never have I ever gone on a solo trip.
Very interesting story. It was a solo trip. I had gone to Bali. I was studying the Gita from a German scholar, and I like to study the Gita from different scholars. It's very interesting. Also, growing up, I won't take too much of your time. I started with the As You Like It Gitas. So all the Bhagavad Gitas, the way people like sort of decipher it, in where you're in different states in your life, it means so many different things to you. So I went to Bali for that, and it was meant to be maybe like a 2-week thing. I stayed there for 2 months. My mom had to come to Bali to bring me back. And I absolutely fell in love with it. So
wow. I have to ask you this question. So what is your one take from Bhagavad Gita? Daily applicable one take? That you've studied different versions of it and different interpretations.
Right. When you're attached to something, right? It's like if you're hugging a wall or like a beam, you should try to just let go, because it's not holding you, you're holding it. No? Attachment versus detachment. I think the right time to do that. Because to be detached all the time is not easy.
Possible.
And I don't want to right now, So it was that. It wasn't that something had control over me. It was that I just had to sort of release
it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Nice.
That made sense. Okay. Never have I ever started a podcast.
Now. Yeah. Never have I ever not wanted to train someone. Back to you.
Yes, there has been times where I've not wanted to train.
Yeah.
Yes.
And your reason?
There have been times where somebody has thought that they were a little more correct technically than me. And then it's dangerous, because if they're doing something incorrect in my class and I know what it's going to lead to and they're not listening to me, then it's time to,
Yeah, let go then.
let go.
Like you said.
That's what I've learned. Never have I ever left the house without sunscreen.
I have. That I have.
Really?
I don't. Now I don't at all.
You have shouted at me for this.
Exactly. So now I don't at all. But when I was a young girl and I didn't know, I have. Never have I ever fallen off during aerial yoga.
Oh, yeah. So many
Oh,
times.
yeah?
When you're, especially because, I mean, you have a lot of
Cushioning down.
Cushioning, right? And that is mandatory in every class. But even when we're training, so many times when you're trying something new and you're letting go. But again, it's being a sportsman, I think you've had injuries, you know the risks. As long as you know your boundaries, that's good enough. And when you're learning new maneuvers, because I'm always sort of coming up with new things, right?
Yeah,
All the time.
yeah,
So when I'm creating those repertoires all the time, it's
It'll
funny.
happen.
But as long as I'm not injured. I want to know this. Never have I ever given into a crazy face request.
Never. That's one thing I would, like you said, how you would never do it because it leads to a long-term injury. I know what it is going to happen 10 years down the line. When I say no, it's a no. It could be whoever.
Okay, last one.
Huh.
Never have I ever judged the work on someone's face.
Always.
Are you sure?
Guilty,
Are you
always.
sure? Do we get some more? No? Yes? Maybe after the podcast?
Yeah, after the podcast. Always. Oh my God. For you too, never have I ever judged a friend's posture.
Oh, all the time. But I'm very vocal about it. I'm, like I told you, I'm that person who gives those suggestions, advice, whatever you call it, when it's not needed.
So when even I do that advice not needed, I give.
Too much.
But if somebody else has done something on them and I don't want to judge and say, that,
Fair, yeah.
I judge in my head, but I shut my mouth.
Fair.
Oh, this is nice. I have to ask this. I know there are many, but I'll ask you. Never have I ever Googled myself.
I have actually, but this was actually for, those Google business pins had to be moved. Like, that's why. So I was Googling myself, and then I got a little carried away, and then I came back.
It's nice to know who's saying what about you.
It was fun. It was fun. Yeah.
So just before I let you go, I want to talk to you about one most important thing, and I hope you say what I'm expecting. What about face yoga? And face yoga giving you sharp jawline and face yoga giving you the facelift.
What I believe is that you'll feel like a slight change for the better, but it's not cumulative. I haven't seen anybody practicing that I've seen like structural changes. I don't think that's a possibility. Yes, what I do think, it's like when when you dunk your face into like ice cold water, or like I was talking about the inversions, you feel that flush, you feel that instant sort of facelift for a very small period of time. You feel, I mean, you're glowing. Of course you are, with all that blood circulation when you're sweating. Is it cumulative? I haven't practiced enough to know. I don't know anybody who has. What are your views? I really want to know. Yeah.
So it's not possible. You can't. The whole science of, let's say, aging or lines on the face, if that is what you may measure aging as, is movement of facial muscles which actually tug the skin with it. So each time you keep laughing, that's why it's called as smile lines here, right? So the other parts of the body, you know that the muscles are attached to the bone, but in the face, the muscles are attached to the skin. So each time you do a movement, it is actually pulling the skin with it. So why would you keep doing 80 times your eyes closed and wide? It's only going to lead to the lines. If at all, it may pump out the extra fluid vessation in
Correct.
that area.
Yeah.
So it gives you a little bit of a lymphatic drainage. But it can't give you a picked up eye or a youthful eye in any other way.
Right.
Especially that people keep talking about jawline correction. It's not going to happen. The only thing that might help again is even here you kind of stretch your neck up, you open your jaw, you do that and this feels tight. So all these muscles are actually less worked. You can end up working those muscles. So you pump away the fluid trapped between all of them.
And I'll just jump in and say it's about the lengthening, right? So when you're in our fly fit hammock, when we go upside down, we always talk about how we get taller after a class. Number one, of course, it's about your posture. If your posture is better, you're taller. Number two, you're lengthened. So when you're automatically lengthened again, so not cumulative. So for that period, you definitely feel, taller and longer. So similarly, I feel like that with the face.
That's about it. So it's not that it can give you, like you said, cumulatively facelift or a before and after picture when you look at it after a month.
Right.
Just after a session, you might feel nice and tucked in.
Correct.
That's about it. So I know you teach them a lot, but I want to know from these three, what did you learn? Kareena Kapoor,
Love, self-love,
Deepika Padukone,
discipline,
Rakulpreet Singh.
consistency, balance.
Wow. You know, at the end, I think it's all about consistency, relentlessness.
Yeah, with
That
all
is
of them,
what-
I think. Yeah.
That's what makes them what they are, right? And when people come and ask us, how do we get there? It doesn't happen overnight, doesn't happen with one asana or one cream. I think that was a beautiful discussion that we had, and I'm sure everybody gets a lot to take home and learn. It's not always about maybe how an asana can be done correctly, which today you have many avenues to see it. But the thought behind yoga, like the way you gave, the science behind the asanas, the posture, the entire mind-body connection, soul connection in the end to that, universe or divine being is, I think, what's beautiful. And thank you so much. I it's so inspiring. This whole episode, at least I'm going to start doing some breath work. I'm definitely going to do inversion.
Yeah, we're getting you to invert, and thank you. It's an honor to be here with you.
So sweet. Thank you.
And that was really not planned. We both did this.